1982 will be a significant year. It's the benefit year for a Somerset batsman who, since he came to this country from Antigua, has been the scourge of the bowling fraternity. The man, 30-year-old Viv Richards.
I'm the king out there, and I'm the one got to be in control, because if I allow to give him that chance, I think, well, he will be the king and he's going to take away my crown.
Great shot. What a magnificent stroke.
Easily the best player in the world at the moment, and must be one of the all-time greats.
Viv is always in the game, always exciting. The game is always alive when he's at the wicket.
It's a marvellous shot.
Well, as a batsman, I think he's a genius. He's a very, very exciting player to watch.
Oh, it's a glorious shot, glorious stroke.
Every generation, every 2 generations, something special comes along, and Vivian has a natural talent which very few athletes are endowed with.
And the challenge answered, and a terrific shot. 6 glorious runs.
He's Viv, and I don't think he'll ever change Viv. He's just Viv Richards, who loves playing cricket.
Fellow players and Somerset supporters all agree Viv Richards is the best batsman of his day, probably the best in the world since Don Bradman. At Devizes last Saturday, Somerset warmed up for the season against Wiltshire. The crowd kept one eye on Botham sixes, another on the arrival of Richards, just back from Antigua for his benefit season. Richards has no enemies in the cricket world, but there's no warmer welcome for him than here in the West Country, and he seemed glad to be back, sharing a cup of English tea with Ian Botham and the other teammates of the club, which gave him his first big break.
I've got a lot of faith, in this particular county. I think they're the ones that really gave him my first chance. They took the opportunity and they went way out of such effect, that's the way I put it, in order to give me a trial, to let me play in the under 25s and things like that. And I've served this county, I don't think I'm really grateful, for the things that they have done. That's why I think I want to give as much service as I can back to this county.
Thanks to Somerset's foresight, Richards has come a long way from the sunshine and beaches of Antigua, where he was born 30 years ago into the family of the assistant governor of the island prison. Viv's parents were staunch Anglicans and set firm standards despite the relaxed approach to life on a small island. Viv used to sing in the choir at St John's Cathedral and once performed here before Her Majesty the Queen, as he was to do years later at Lord's. This angelic choir boy was more at home on the cricket field.
We've got a term in Antigua that where, if you like a particular sport a lot, out there we'd call it a cricket soup, and I was known to be a cricket soup because every little chance that I had, I took up a cricket bat or a cricket ball.
He could kick a football pretty well too. He played for Antigua in the World Cup, but his cricketing father advised against a sporting career.
Personally speaking, I didn't want him to be a cricketer because I played cricket for many years at the island, and I know what I suffered. I want a professional study for him.
That was sound advice, no doubt, for the average keen young cricketer, but Viv's own cricket success helped shape his destiny. From early boyhood, it was clear that he had outstanding ability, and one day he told his mother that his mind was made up.
He said to me, "Mommy, you know what I would really like? I would really like if cricket was a profession, to say that I could earn my living by that. That's what I would like."
The chance came through bookmaker Len Creed, then vice-chairman of Somerset and a loyal member of Lansdowne Cricket Club in Bath. Creed went to Antigua on a club tour and immediately put a question about the unknown player to that well-known Caribbean cricket authority, the taxi driver.
Have you heard of a chap called Richards, Viv Richards? He said, "Yes, sir." He said, "He's the best cricketer on the islands." He said, "Do you want to see him?" I said, "Well, you take me to the hotel. Let's have a drink. We'll talk about it." So that's what happened. We went to this hotel. There was 2 gentlemen behind the bar, this taxi driver, no one else. They were all having their siesta, as people do in the afternoon when it's hot at 1 o'clock or something. And he said, "Would you like to see Viv Richards?" "When?" I said, "Well, like now." And he says, "Well, I can have him here in an hour, sir. Would you like to see Andy Roberts?" I said, "Who the hell's Andy Roberts?" And he said, "Oh, he's a good cricketer. He's his mate." So within an hour, they brought Viv Richards and Andy Roberts to the hotel, whereupon they joined me in a Guinness or something to that effect. They're both extremely modest, extremely nice, and Andy had already arranged to go through Desmond Eager, Lake Desmond Eager, to Hampshire. And then I talked to Viv and his colleagues and saw him play the next day. And obviously the word had gone around that Len was going to watch him. So Viv batted in his customary number 3, and a spinner playing for the Acorns, who plays county cricket today, who should be nameless, and drew Vivian forward, and Viv missed it. The flight beat him completely. He was stumped by a yard at least and given not out. Word obviously whistled round, so Viv continued. And after he'd scored 26 or 8 pretty good runs, hit the ball so hard, caught behind, he had to be given, and he went reluctantly. And after which, of course, he went to the field. He filled at cover point, which upon he was brilliant at cover point, as he still is. And he threw the wicket down underhanded. And I turned to the committee bloke, Somerset, next to me, called Louis Powell. And I said, Louis, that chap's coming back to Somerset. Take his photograph.
At first, I didn't have a proper coat, or a proper overcoat, if you'd want to call it. And at first, I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable. I was cold and freezing and all that. But gradually, as I stayed on, the longer I stayed on, it's, the easier it got.
He didn't do badly, in fact, from the start. Playing only at weekends for Lansdowne, Richards scored well over 2,000 runs and over 1,200 when, in 1974, he began his career as a qualified county cricketer, sharing a flat with another young Somerset hopeful, Ian Botham.
We used to go shopping, and the shopping list would consist of a bottle of gin, some lagers, the priorities, right, some fruit juices. Occasionally we get something to eat, but we gave up on that. We found it was a lot easier to eat out because neither of us wanted to do the washing up, and our cooking wasn't too special.
But their cricket was special, and Richards quickly showed an ideal temperament and sense of occasion to go with his natural panache as a stroke maker and a basically sound technique, the result more of instinct than coaching. He made 192 not out in his 3rd Test innings at Delhi and helped to transform the fortunes of Somerset. Their captain, Brian Rose, takes comfort from the match-winning ability of his number 3.
But he's played some absolutely wonderful knocks for Somerset in his 10 years he's been here. And the one thing we always think about Viv is he's got a wonderful ability to produce an innings when it counts. You know, he'll have a couple of indifferent days, but if you've got an important match, he's always a chap that you can count on to score an innings when it really matters.
And after 2 near misses in 1978, it really mattered in the Gillette final of '79.
And there's the single, no problem at all for him, anything on his legs, he deals with so efficiently. Crowd rise to Viv Richards, this great West Indian player, who goes through to exactly 100 out of a Somerset total of 228 for 7. He got further outside that was a magnificent shot again.
Somerset's long wait for success was over. No longer were they the traditional underdogs of county cricket. Thanks greatly to man of the match Richards and his uncanny ability to play the big innings at the right time.
Some people, when they get to the final, you can chicken out, and I think that's the best time to come good. And I try to be as alert as possible in order to cope with these sort of conditions, rather than fade away. I think it's the best time to come good, and I concentrate much more than ever when I'm playing these particular games.
And who dropped it short of Vivian Richards? You'd think Dave Thomas had learnt a lesson for the day. 193 for 3, 195 required, 2 to win. Thomas to Richards. He didn't mean to get them in singles. No one saw where the ball went. Everyone knows who's won.
And that, of course, was Somerset, winning the Benson and Hedges Cup last summer, their 3rd one-day success in as many years. This season, they may well win their 1st championship. At the highest level, too, Clive Lloyd's West Indies have come to rely on the Richards' flair and consistency.
He's probably one of the best players I've seen in my cricketing career, because he does everything so easily. And I think that's the great thing about cricketers. You can find the great ones tend to take less time and they do everything with such ease.
That's a half volley, stroked gloriously through the covers before. It's the one he was waiting for that takes him on to 250, establishes a 100 partnership between these two.
What a marvellous stroke. He's played no better shot than that in the whole of this series.
And he's bowled him, and Richards goes on 291, the end of a memorable innings.
In 7 Test innings against England in 1976, Richards plundered 829 runs, including 232 at Trent Bridge and that 291 at the Oval. He missed Lord's through illness, but scored centuries there in the World Cup final in 1979 and the Test in 1980. And he's not simply a batsman. He fields brilliantly, and he's a versatile, very useful bowler.
When you're out there in the field of play, you know, most people think of me as being a batsman, but you know, I fancy myself as doing a fielding, and I like to take part in the whole. I like to be involved.
He's going for a big one. Is he going to be caught? And it's a magnificent catch. We saw a great catch out there by Brearley, and this is Richards. He's really taken a superlative catch.
You know, I like to take up the ball and want to have a go on thing. I might get smashed all over the park, but you know, I think it's all enjoyment, and because I enjoy playing cricket and actually taking part or enjoying all these different aspects of the game.
You've already captained the West Indies and you're the heir apparent. Are you looking forward to the day when you take on that job full time?
I'd love to be captain of the West Indies team. I think it would be an honour for my country, me being captain, a chap coming from a small island such as Antigua, being captain for the West Indies. That I think would be a thrill.
You've never really been involved in any controversy, but a captain these days not only has to be astute on the field, he's also got to be a bit of a diplomat off it.
And sometimes, being a cricketer and not a politician, sometimes you got to remain silent. And I've chose to remain silent on most occasions.
Do you feel strongly, though, about the cricketers, many of whom are your friends, who chose to go to South Africa in the winter?
Oh, well, yeah, I think I would say that I believe they were used.
Only one small cloud darkens Richards' personal horizon as he sets out on a busy benefit season, and that's a small cataract which has formed itself on his left eye. An operation will be necessary before long, but Viv is in no hurry to retire for this or any other reason. We should have at least 5, perhaps a few more years to appreciate the most dominating Test batsman of his era. He married his childhood love Miriam last year, and they now have comfortable homes in both Antigua and Taunton. When he comes to thinking about the future, he remains the same cool, relaxed figure, so familiar to opposing bowlers. Now the proud father of a little girl, he knows what he wants when all the travelling stops.
I want to go home to Antigua and settle, because I've made my promise to myself that whenever I'm finished playing here in England or wherever it might be, I want to go home and relax and say, well, this is it. I've really enjoyed playing in England. I've got a casual way towards life where I was given the chance to play cricket. I was lucky, and maybe that's why I think in my own mind and my heart I've been relaxed, actually taking part in these things and never really set myself any goals. And because probably I feel to myself, if you set yourself goals, you can be disappointed and you can get to your head, and maybe this is the way I've been.
Take life as it comes.
Yeah, just take life as it comes.
The magnificent Viv Richards, and our reporter there was Christopher Martin-Jenkins.